Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. We are on chapter 10. It's the last verse, concluding couple of verses. And this one, Bhagwan completely concludes it. So the 41 that we did last week, he said to Arjun, whatever that is glorious, prosperous, or powerful in any being, that know you to be a manifestation of a part of my splendor. So already बोल दिया. और अभी क्या बोलते हैं वो 42 में? He says, अथवा बहुनैतेन किम ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्याहमिदं कृत्स्नम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत. अथवा और, पहले तो बोला कि भाई एनीथिंग दैट इज ग्लोरियस प्रॉस्परस एंड ऑल दैट इज माई मैनिफेस्टेशन, पार्ट ऑफ माई स्प्लेंडर. अगर तेरे को ये बात समझ में नहीं आई तो अथवा एक और बात बताता हूँ तुझे. यू नो दैट्स हाउ इट सेज. अथवा बहुना मैनी, एतेन दिस, किम what, ज्ञातेन to know, tava of these, Arjuna, O Arjuna. And there is a word Vishtabhya. Vishtabhya is many different meanings are there. You can say supporting, upholding, and pervading. Everything comes in that Vishtabhya word. Basically, just talking about that being a substratum, that, this cosmic sustaining function of Brahman, being the substratum. That's what Vishtabhya means. Aham is I, idam is this, krutsnan, all of this. Ekanshena. Ekanshena is also a very important word over here, and this is one of the most important one in this verse. That means by one part. So by just one part or fraction of it, And this is the word in this particular verse that people have commented the most. So underline this word. एकांशेन, एकांश से. स्थित, स्थित में यहाँ पर exist बोला है, so it also has a many different fold meaning. That means Bhagwan remains or exists or abide. This world abides in it. It kind of talks about that पूरा cosmos Bhagwan में बसा हुआ है, स्थित है. Whichever way you want to put it. So these meanings are like deeper. In contemplation, a lot of other things come out. So that's how we have to look at this verse. So what are the other, Nikhilanandji has some good points and all that. So basically, Bhagwan is saying over here that, hey Arjun, what is the use of knowing so many things? Bahut ho gaya. Understand that just one sentence I'm going to say, which is like a sar of everything which I have told you. And Nikhilanandji is a little bit funny. He said, Arjun must be saying, okay, tell me then that one sentence. Why did you not tell me before? But anyway, बोलते ना कि एक सेंटेंस को समझने के लिए पहले बहुत कुछ करना पड़ता है. बहुत कुछ पापड़ बेलने बोलते फिर समझ में आएगा. ऐसे ही बोलते तो शायद he would have not given that much importance. So that's how we have to see. So Bhagwan says, remember that I with my only one ansh pervade or hold this whole world. That's what it is. That usually we think कि जहाँ पर cosmos है वहीं भगवान है, उसके beyond कुछ नहीं है. No. Basically, how can you compare infinite with the finite? Finite will always be just a part of it. But just one ansh, that's how we see. So, how do we understand it from a worldly perspective? So, Nikhilanandji comes up with very good examples. So he said that suppose, this is just a hypothetical, that if we come to know, glory of the entire world with all the details, and in the world we don't have the capacity to know even one subject. Jo people who do research on, they do one small aspect of something, one person, and next person comes, does it again, says more, there is more, there is more. Imagine that. So just assuming that we have done mastery and PhD in every part of the world, samjho. Okay. So after that also, this entire glory will be just a tiny little fraction. So just imagine the scale. That's how you have to see it. Okay? The whole thing. It's like a drop in the ocean, according to him. So this entire cosmos or this multitude of universe also. Now, when we say about, we were talking about one universe, but now they're talking about multiple universes, even in the Western science. But apne shastra mein to pehle hi tha. So even multiple universes like a one drop in the glorious nature of God. And if you want to use another language, Bhagwan is saying, I sustain and pervade this whole universe with a single fragment of myself. What a tiny fraction. That's how we have to see it. And then he was just saying, I don't know how many people know about, there is the mantras of Purush Suktam, karke bahut famous hai, like among the spiritual people who know about all these things. Some people memorize it. All the people in the south, they have memorized this Purush Suktam. It's very popular. They chant it a lot. And that is, like a Virat Roop Bhagwan ka described kiya hua hai. Bahut, like I think there are about 18 verses or something. Some of them have little less. And this is a part of the Rig Veda actually. So in that Purush Suktam also, one of the important things that Bhagwan said over there, that I just, this whole world is just my quarter. But quarter is also not a fixed measure, because when you're talking about infinite, what is a quarter of an infinite, right? So that's how we have to understand. But because humans can only understand, whole and quarter and half and 10% and 1%. We only know these graphs and numbers. That's why he has to give this. Otherwise, you can't even measure it. So just think about all those things. Very important. So this is how Bhagwan concludes very beautifully about his vibhuti. That he was just saying, Nikhilanandji, that if we contemplate on these verses, the last few verses, and tune our mind to Bhagwan, then we'll be able to tune to God. Then the final thing will happen to us, that whatever our goals are, that, understanding the nature of God and all that. And then we'll be able to realize, or our own self also, because he always brings the whole thing to ourself. My own self is same as like that Brahman. So this is what Nikhilanandji said. And, just to kind of, since we are on the last part of it, a little bit summary I just wanted to give, because there are a few new people, that in this chapter, from verse 19 to 40, Bhagwan listed his vibhutis. What are the most excellent beings, objects and qualities that reflect the Bhagwan's presence. So what did he say? Very few examples. Among all the lights, I'm the sun. Right? He said that. And among all the rivers, I'm the Ganga. Among all warriors, I'm Rama, like that. So, and then in last verse 41, he summarized, whatever is glorious, prosperous, or powerful, know that to be the spark of his splendor or my splendor. Right? He said that. And this is a concluding verse where he's saying the whole cosmos is supported by just a fraction of my infinite being. So that's how this ties up with each other. So what basically it is that this verse shifts Arjun's vision from individual glory to cosmic scale. Because we are trying to grasp Bhagwan's nature, right? So we can be sitting, this murti mein Bhagwan hai, isme hai, mere rituals mein hai, just, kind of a very narrow attitude we cannot take. We have to expand it. So this what, does it, this one. And preparing for what? Chapter 11 में क्या होने वाला है? विश्व रूप दर्शन. इतना सब प्रिपेयर करने के बाद भी वो डर गया था. तो अगर नहीं करता तो बेहोशी हो जाता फिर. He won't be able to fight. Think about it. So, because vision of cosmic form के लिए तैयार कर रहे हैं भगवान उसको. So when he says that, hey, what is the use of knowing all this? What is telling you is that only intellectual enumeration, okay, oh, how many things Bhagwan is in, that's not the final goal, but realization of the nature is the final goal. Because some people get stuck. The same thing like rituals. People start doing rituals and they get so attached to their ritual, they completely forget what the goal is. And they keep doing it, and you can do it 100 times. If you forgot the goal, it's not going to get there, So something to contemplate upon. And then few other people, obviously Shankaracharya ji, Madhusudan Saraswati, they have some interesting thing to say. And Swamiji is going to say some very interesting thing about what Jagat is, and also when we read his commentary, we'll see, because they open up this verse a little more. So what does Shankaracharya ji? He explains that all these manifestations are simply to help Arjuna meditate on the Lord. So when we also study this chapter, if we like this chapter, it should be used in meditation, because it will expand our vision. And what Krishna says, that by mere fraction of my being, I remain pervading and sustaining right? That's what he said in the entire verse. So this is trying to show his infinite nature and Lord's power. So those are the two important things that Shankaracharya ji said. And then he also said that, no, those are the two things. And then next one is Madhusudan Saraswati ji said that. What did he say? Because remember, he always takes the bhakti marg, which is also very important. So, Gyan and bhakti, both, we need the combination. So when he said that ek ansh, say, when I'm supporting everything with one ansh. So what he's saying, that this is just a partial expression of Lord. Same thing they are saying, of course. And his true nature transcends creation altogether. That's a very important thing. Like, जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, ये तो बच्चों का खेल है. हम लोग ऐसे हिंदी में बोल देते हैं ना, तो भगवान के लिए यूनिवर्स बच्चों का खेल एक्चुअली. हम लोग को इतना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड वो लगता है, बट फ्रॉम हिज पर्सपेक्टिव बच्चों का खेल. So, because he transcends all this. And then what he was saying, that when we read these verses, especially this last verse, when he talks about it's only fraction, what it does, it inspires awe in us. Vismay. Vismay is a Sanskrit word, kisi cheez ko dekhkar, wow. So we get wowed by it. That's the whole idea. And it creates devotion, because anytime you get wowed by something, tabhi bhakti jagti hai. कोई बोलेगा, oh, have a devotion to this particular thing, it's not going to come, no matter how many things people say. That's why our teacher used to say, it's very interesting, people say bhakti is very easy, bhakti is very easy. बोलते हैं कि नहीं ऐसे? Oh, gyan is very difficult and all. She said actually it is the opposite from her perspective. And in Gita also, and I'll tell you why. Because Gita mein bhakti yoga comes in 12th chapter. It's called Bhakti Yoga, 12th chapter. When did it come? After 11 chapters. After this Vibhuti Yoga, after this. So the whole logic is that if you tell, oh, love this person, you won't be able to do that until you know that person. Without knowing, how can you love a person, right? So when Krishna Bhagavan said in chapter 6, you meditate upon me, so that famous sentence from Chinmayanandaji saying, if somebody tells you meditate on Halabulu, will you be able to meditate? No, I don't know what Halabulu is. Like that, you say, oh, meditate upon God. I don't even know who God is. How can I meditate? So then this 6 chapters or chale, 5 chapters, ki Bhagwan kaun hai. So this uski shankla mein hai ye sara. Abhi it is kind of winding down who God is, and then bhakti jagegi. और अर्जुन की भी भक्ति तभी जागी थी. जब उसने ये सब पढ़ा मीन्स सुना, कॉन्टेम्पलेट कर रहा है वो, एंड देन ही गोज टू विश्व रूप दर्शन, उसके बाद वो पानी हो गया. ओके, इनका म्यूट करती हूँ मैं. ओके, सो दैट्स व्हाट इट इज. सो रिमेंबर दैट he's Madhusudan Saraswati ji, he's taking you to the bhakti thing, that hey, after you hear these verses, you get awed by it, devotion comes, and because it's showing Lord's limitless greatness, it's showing. So that creates that bhakti in us. And few other deeper significance what it is. In the modern language, if somebody was, okay, I don't know, this is too spiritual and all. What about the practical part of it? Okay, so the practical language we can use. The whole manifested cosmos, including time, space, all living being, law of nature, it is all upheld by just one fraction of this supreme. That's how we can say in the modern language. And the other one is that God's nature is far beyond the created world. Like I said, bachon ka khel. So it is far beyond that. We cannot grasp it, which is okay. And the other two words that I always use that we learned in Vedanta is God is both eminent and transcendent. And these verses also exactly take you in that direction. Eminent, and just if you forgot about it, eminent means he pervades everything. Nothing exists outside of him. He is in कण कण में भगवान जो बोलते हैं ना, उसको eminence बोलते हैं. और transcendent किसको बोलते हैं? He remains established in his own nature, unaffected by the play of creation. Like you created something and then that can go away. You are not going to go away. दुनिया में भी होता है ना कि some people who are, they create, or you have your, कोई बोलता है ना कि बिजनेस है, फैक्ट्री है, इतनी इतनी कारें बनाई, ये किया, एक दिन वो फैक्ट्री चली गई, आदमी तो नहीं चला गया. You can create another one, The same with Bhagwan also. That's how you have to look at it. So the purpose, according to, lot of saints and sages, is to ये भक्ति जागृत करने के लिए, not mere knowledge. Mere knowledge again will get stuck, but these verses help us to develop that bhakti. So basically what Krishna Bhagavan is doing is subtle way reminding Arjuna that intellectual listing of all the glories is not the goal, but the goal is to awaken that surrender in him. And surrender comes from bhakti. When you have a devotion, and that's when surrender comes, and realization of his greatness, of his infinite nature, And then the other, if you want to stretch this verse a little bit further, then there are a few more things. Like we say, Bhagwan is Satya and Jagat is Mithya. So Mithya is not like hai nahi Jagat. Some people take that route. That's not what they are saying. Means its existence is dependent, sustained by Bhagwan. That's what Mithya means. Independent existence nahi hai. That's what this verse will tell us. So, showing the infinite majesty of Brahman, basically. And then we already discussed that, but just to summarize that, that this whole cosmos is not equal to total God. Just a little fraction. So just remember that. And that few spiritual messages that this, you can say another language you can use it, this whole cosmos is a spark of his glory. That's all it is. And we should not get lost in the details, but turn our mind to the infinite source. Because that's what Vedanta tells you again and again. Go back to the source. Go back to the source. This will help us do it. And then, obviously, devotion comes from recognizing his vastness and surrendering to him and all that. And the last part I wanted to say is that if you contemplate on these verses, then what happens is humility we develop, reverence and trust. Because, hey, whatever Bhagwan is saying, I need to trust, which is what Krishna Bhagwan wanted Arjuna to feel before the cosmic vision or the Vishwarup Darshan. Those three things are very, very important to develop. So that's what this verse is doing for us. Any question or comment? I guess everybody's satisfied with Lord Krishna's whatever he's saying. Okay, any volunteers to read?
I can read.
Sushilji.
But of what avail to thee is the knowledge of all these details, O Arjuna? I exist, sporting this whole world by one part of myself. Under an inspired urge of friendliness and love, though Krishna in all haste promised that he would explain his expression in the individual yoga, apart from the description of his glory as the cosmic man, Vibhuti, when he tried to indicate himself objectively, himself object by object, he himself realized the impossibility of exhausting the treatment. Infinite upon infinite amounts to the total number of things and beings in the universe, and it is never possible to exhaust all of them one by one. With a cry of despair, and yet in the attitude of extreme love for his disciple, Lord Krishna brilliantly summarizes this chapter in this closing stanza.
Swamiji is amazing how he describes the thing. Okay, so just to remind you, शुरू में भगवान ने बोला था कि my vibhuti and yog दोनों तुमको समझ में आना चाहिए. And vibhuti, like we said, is like a vistar. It's like spread of that Bhagwan's power. Whatever we see, all the glories, like we talked about it, that there is one person and उसने क्या क्या किया दुनिया में, वो उसका विस्तार है. But there's only one person who's doing all that. Same way, Vistar means glories, and yoga means to see that oneness in the glory, where it's coming from, pointing towards that Brahman. So he's saying that he promised that he will explain that, and then Arjuna was there, hey, how should I meditate upon you in this world? So Bhagwan started saying, and then he realized कि अगर मैं यही बोलता गया तो फिर 3-4 दिन बीत जाएंगे यहाँ पर और वॉर वहीं का वहीं थमा रह जाएगा. I better conclude this. कोई अंत ही नहीं है इसका. Right? That's what it is trying to say. That he just realized that with the cry of despair, yet he loves Arjuna, so he wants him to understand. It's like, some little kid asks you a question and you answer and he's not understanding, and then you think, how should I present it though he will get it, because you love that child. So same way, Krishna Bhagwan is like trying his best, and this final conclusion he makes to give him the summary. Yeah.
What will it avail thee to know all these diversities? In fact, it is useless to explain the presence of the infinite in every finite form. It is impossible for a pot maker to show the mud in all the existing parts in the world, nor can anyone indicate the ocean aspect in every wave in the sea. All that we can do is explaining to the student the art of recognizing the mud aspect in few parts, so that the student can independently come to recognize mud in all existing parts. It is never possible for a mathematics teacher to exhaust all the examples, but the student is taught the art of solving the problems through a limited number of typical examples, and thereafter the student all by himself gains the capacity to solve any similar problem independently.
Swamiji gave beautiful examples. And we have discussed this example. It's like somebody asking, show me the mud in every mud pot. So I say, okay, I can show you few, and then you learn to recognize it. And I think the mathematics example is the best one. That, कोई formula होता है, and then वो the word problems होते थे सभी हम लोग. मेरे को बहुत मुश्किल होती थी वो word problem. I was not so great in math. My brother was. So he was like 9 years older than me, and he would come back from IIT and I say, how are you doing? I say, I can't solve this problem. He was so tired, he would close his eyes and say, tell me the problem, and he would solve it like in 2 minutes. And I'm like wrecking my brain for an hour and I can't do it. Finally, he taught me a few things, so I could do it. So that's what it is. You learned, and then you will be able to get the confidence to solve all the problems. So that's exactly what Krishna Bhagwan is doing. But I think when Krishna Bhagwan starts telling his glory, it sounds so beautiful. Hum bhi kho jate hain usme, like a poetry. That's why it's my favorite. Whoever loves poetry will love this chapter. But then Bhagwan realized that, okay, I better conclude. So बोलते हैं ना कि अच्छा अभी बहुत हो गया, क्या फायदा ये सब बोल के, ये बात समझ ले तू. ये सब मेरा छोटी सी glory है. Kind of like that, he's telling him.
I, with one part of myself, sport this whole universe. Jagat, rendered as the whole universe, is very unhappy translation, in as much as ordinary we will fail to understand the whole import of the term. Universe is a term which in our vocabulary indicates only the gross world of the sun and the planets, the stars and the earth, with the perceivable things and beings in them. But the term Jagat in Sanskrit implies much more than the gross term universe in English.
So this is a very important thing because there are certain words in Vedanta that has a very wide, deep meaning, and if we understand, we will grasp Vedanta much better. So when we say, dunya, jagat, world, cosmos and all that, our immediate thing goes the physical things. बस उसके आगे हम लोग नहीं सोचते जो भी हमको 5 senses से दिखाई देता है वो जगत है हाँ but Swami ji is saying no, jagat is much more than that. And the problem with the Western science also is they get only stuck at the physical part. They are trying to find the origin of life just in the physical world. सर पीट लिया उन्होंने अभी तक उनको मिला नहीं you got to go a little bit beyond. कितने भी millions of dollars, billions भी खर्चा कर देंगे, they cannot because they hit a wall. So what is Jagat? He's going to explain in the next verse. Next paragraph, sorry.
In philosophical usage, the term Jagat means all the fields or experiences which man is capable of. A physical body, a psychological being, and an intellectual entity. This would mean that the world, Jagat, is the sum total world perceived by my senses plus the world of my emotions and sentiments plus the world of my ideas and ideologies. The entire field, Jagat iti Jagat, that which is ever changing is Jagat. So the term embraces the entire universe of things and beings conditioned by the time and space that is comprehended by the sense organs. The mind and the intellect is to be understood as Jagat. In short, this term conveniently embraces in its meaning and import the entire realm of objects.
See how important it is. So when he said Jagat, that means the Sanskrit ka wo hai Jagat si iti Jagat, and it seems that uska meaning hota hai ever changing, constantly changing. Like Swamiji uses another word, he says the Einstein world of time and space. Constant or change is the changeless law of this universe, constantly changing. So, but changing what? Because we as human beings, we are physical body, psychological being, and intellectual entity. If I say, just this body is me, that's not true. I have a mind, and that is me, and I have an intellect. So everything together, the 3 fields of experiences, and that's why in Mandukya Upanishad, when they talked about, Om, it's like waking world, dream world, and deep sleep. There are 3 experiences. So they have divided the experience in a different way. Here, it's a kind of a similar thing. Entire world perceived by my senses and emotions and sentiments and ideas and ideologies. Because sentiments are in my mind, my emotions are in my mind, and my intellect has ideas and ideologies. Usko jagat bola gaya hai. So when Bhagwan say, I sustain this and there's only part of it, it's not talking about just the physical universe. Even your mind, emotion, everything is sustained by God, a small fraction of God. That's what he was trying to remind us. But in the future also, when the term Jagat comes, then we will know what it actually means.
The declaration here in the last line therefore means that the total world of objects is supported, tended, and nourished by a quarter of meaning, a portion of the subject, the self. Krishna as the self naturally declares here that the whole Jagat is supported by a portion of his glory. The statement has got yet another philosophical implication in as much as it declares that there is in the truth vast portions which are uncontaminated by the disturbances which we call Jagat. No doubt, in the homogeneous truth, there cannot be distinctive portions of different features. However, this is a kindly method distinctive of indicating a transcendental idea with the terrestrial words of finite language.
So this is a little bit difficult language to understand, but firstly, this much we all understood, that whatever we see in the world, whatever we feel as emotions, whatever our ideas are, all that is supported, tended, and nourished by that. Okay, that's very important. But the reason that Swamiji was explaining the latter part in this paragraph is actually when we talk about Brahman or self, it is one entity, right? So there cannot be parts in it. Atma doesn't have part in it. But in the language, they are using one portion of me, one section or a quarter of me in the Purush Suktam, like that. This is just to explain in the language. In reality, it's something like this. We have space. Space is right here where I am, through me, and somewhere billions of miles away is also space. It's one. So I will say, oh, this is the earth space. So it's not like the space is divided. Earth is just hanging in the space, which is one entity. See what I'm trying to say? I don't know if I'm making you understand what they're trying. That's what he's trying to say. Even though it's one entity, but the way Bhagwan said, just with one portion of me, as though Bhagwan ne koi separate portion kar diya and that became the Jagat. It's not like that. It's a one continuous thing. Jagat is just appearing in it, like a little play, but Bhagwan doesn't get affected by it. I think if we understood that, we are done. That snake and ropes example, that Jagat just appears. Nothing has happened to the rope. The snake is just appearing and disappearing. That's all it is. So don't think that when he's saying that one portion of me, कि भगवान का वहाँ से कुछ portion निकल के कुछ हो गया, ऐसा नहीं है. It's one continuous thing. Bhagwan is infinite. Some question is on Meena ji's face, I can see.
Just didn't understand the last sentence, and I was going to ask you where you're trying to explain, and I'm trying to grasp what I understood with what I don't understand with what you're saying, and I'm trying to figure it out, how it's working. And would you take a planet in other planets? Would you take the Earth planet as one in the whole space? Is that what, would you call that as a portion? Would you call that as a portion of the whole universe, or how would you?
No, that's not what all they are saying is that Bhagwan ne language use kiya na ye verse mein, ki with one ansh of me, this Jagat I support, or I'm the substratum, right? Somebody, maybe not you, but somebody out there may think that as though some little portion is separate from Bhagwan and there are different portions in Bhagwan. In Bhagwan, it's not like that. It's all infinite. He's a substratum, and the Jagat just appears. So when the Jagat appeared, it appears as many things. One appears as many, right? There's one rope, and then the snake has so many different colors and this and that, right? So when you're talking about Earth, that's just a one speck in the whole universe.
Yeah.
So and then Swamiji already said that when you're talking about Jagat, don't think that it is just one physical world of the. Firstly, he's not even talking about just Earth. He's talking about the whole cosmos. उसमें stars, wars, सब आ जाते हैं. जितने भी, हाँ. And then जितने भी living beings हैं, वो हम भी हो सकते हैं, कोई दूसरे planet में भी हो सकता है. There are living beings in the Swarg Loka, this Loka, God knows 14 Lokas, whatever they say. और उनके सारे mental things that they have in the mind, जो mind में भरा हुआ है, जो ideas है, वो सबका भी support भगवान ही है. That's one point. Okay. But all they are saying, it's not like it is some kind of separate portion from that perspective. It's infinite and one.
One, yes.
Yeah. So when we go to chapter 13, he's going to talk about Kshetra Kshetragna. Right?
Yes.
So Kshetragna, Bhagwan ne declare kiya as one.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Conscious.
Yes.
That's what they are pointing. Swamiji is pointing to that oneness of that consciousness. That's all he's saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Any other question or comment? Yeah. Urmilji.
Umaji, you had said that that we develop three things: humility, trust, and what was the third thing?
Reverence.
Reverence. Okay.
Reverence.
Yeah.
Because all that
Thank you.
three is important in a bhakti to
Okay.
develop that
Thank
bhakti.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. So since this is the last one, we will do that, जो उसका बोलते हैं ना कि last part of it. संकल्प वाक्य बोलते हैं या कुछ बोलते हैं. If you see in your Gita, Om Tatsadiति Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Vibhuti Yogo Nama Dashamo. So it's kind of interesting that Bhagavad Gita, because it was an oral tradition, they have the name of the chapter at the end, because now okay, ये chapter पूरा हो गया है. But this is also very important. Om, we know is what is Om, is that symbol of Brahman. Tat Saditi. Tat is that, again Brahman. And thus, it is said thus, that's what it means, ki all this, whatever you have done over here, that is Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su, Upanishad Su. It is the glorious, Shri बोला ना उसको. हम लोग जब भगवद गीता बोलते थे यहाँ पर तो श्रीमद् भगवद गीता, that's the real name. श्री लगाया उसके आगे, glorious भगवद गीता, which is the Upanishad. And what is, because उसको भी एक उपनिषद ही बोला गया है, या तो उपनिषद से आया है वो ऐसा समझ लो, उसका सार है तो एक तरह से उपनिषद ही हो गया ना. So that's how we have to see it. And उसमें क्या है, उसका subject क्या है, कि ब्रह्म विद्यायाम. So that's a science of the eternal. And Yoga Shastre, it's a scripture of yoga, means you have science of the eternal is like a goal that we have to achieve, and Yoga Shastra is the path, that all science of yoga. Not just to do exercise yoga, इसमें कर्म yoga, bhakti yoga, ज्ञान yoga, वो सब आया है. And hatha yoga, you can call it part of it too. Just a very small, now you can see that the jo asan वगैरह, it's a minuscule part of the entire yoga. But here योगा का तो उसको ही नाम हो गया है. किसी को बोलो वेस्टर्न लोगों को योगा, so वो immediately वो hatha yoga का आसन, that's it. So but we should know what it is. So anyway, scripture of yoga. The dialogue between Shri Krishna and Arjuna, because it says Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. Samvad karna means dialogue. So it's not an argument, it's not a debate, it's a samvad. Remember we discussed, that I will listen carefully, I'll try to understand. If I have a question, I will ask. But you have to have humility, reverence, and trust. Those three things even to understand this. If you don't have any one of them, you won't be able to get this. So that's why it ends the 10th discourse entitled The Yoga of Divine Glories. That's what he's saying. And every chapter is called the yoga, including the first one, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And just to remind you, somebody will say, how can Arjun's Vishad become yoga? It has, because only then he was ready to, usko Vishad hua, usko, grief hua, then he wanted to connect to God. So he wanted to do, the yoga means connecting to God. So here, through the vibhuti, we are learning to see God. That's what it is trying to tell you. So there is one last paragraph, if somebody wants to read. Urmilji, you can read if you would like. We have already explained, you have that, right?
Yes. The yoga of divine glories. We have already explained the term vibhuti during our discussions in this chapter. This becomes a yoga in as much as students earnestly following the path would try to attune their mental perception and intellectual comprehensions so as to recognize the greatness or the glory or the might in the things and situations, and recognize them as a pencil of the divine ray in themselves, emerging from the glorious effulgence of the self to peep through the manifold finite embodiments. Om, 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 Om.
So you can see that Swamiji's sentences are so long. This whole thing is 2 sentences only. There's one whole paragraph. So basically, it is explaining that even though it is a vibhuti, But through Vibhuti, it becomes yoga. Because we are through Vibhuti, we are seeing oneness. That's one point he said. And he's just saying that by doing this chapter, we try to attune our mental perception and intellectual comprehension to see the greatness of Bhagwan. So that's the whole purpose. And then seeing this entire universe as a ray of God's glory. That's one thing. So I have written away, I've talked about it. Somebody made a very nice statement. They said, the universe is a signature of God. That's how beautiful it is, right? Okay, where is God? Where is God? Look at the universe. That's a signature. That tells you that God is there. कोई चीज है तो creator भी तो होगा. Yes, right? This sentence. So you can write this sentence. I loved it. That's why I wrote it down. So that's what it is. That it is. It creates awe. Whatever all the great saints and sages are saying, if you understand it, it does create that awe in us. And then, we always think, oh, we have seen it all. And then suddenly some other amazing thing comes out in the universe, or, even all the inventions that are happening. This AI and all that is happening. What is it? It's a ray of God's thing only. Yeah, some people say, oh, it is going to be so bad and all. Every revolution, people get scared. It's the same thing like an atom bomb. You can use it to destroy, or you can take nuclear energy and help yourself. Same way like AI. If you use it correctly, it's fantastic. If some bad guys will start misusing it, bad. But it is glory of God that He has made our intelligence which can create that artificial intelligence. Imagine that. वो भी glory होगी कि नहीं? So we'll learn to see, glory in everything. I don't think it's such an evil thing that some people make it sound like as though everything is evil from that perspective. Then you can use it for evil purpose. So whatever new inventions are there, you have to look at it as Bhagwan's glory. That's how I will say it. Anyway, any comment, question before I close this? Okay.
sorry. कमेंट ये है, ये संस्कृत का श्लोक इतना आसान था पढ़ पाने की कहने की कोई बात नहीं, बाकी सब इतने हार्ड होते हैं.
ओ ये आपको अच्छा लगा? कौन सा वाला?
बड़ा आसान था पढ़ पाना जी.
कौन सा वाला?
ये जो पढ़ा आपने ओम तत्सत.
अच्छा. That's good. See, I was telling, we were talking about it. Pushpalata ji comes on always 10 minutes before, so I have a good conversation with her every time. That Sanskrit ka bhi, she said she's chanting and doing Gita every day now, and sometimes she finds it very difficult. I said, I also don't know Sanskrit. I never formally studied, but if you are with it, you get the hang of it. And all of us are Hindi speaking. So, and ये वाला आपको इसलिए इजी लगा होगा बिकॉज ये वाला हर एक के बाद आता है ये. तो आपने काफी सुना होगा. It's like all of us have memorized that यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भवति भारत, because वो जो महाभारत आया था ना, उसमें रोज हम सभी, whoever is interested in this may have seen that series way back then, पता नहीं 20-30 years ago. And वो मेरे बच्चों को भी याद हो गया था. They were so little and they could easily chant that, sing very gloriously. Meaning कुछ मालूम नहीं हो. यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य. So that's what it is. Once we keep hearing it, that's another good way. If somebody wants to, hey, I don't know how to chant, just keep listening and it will sink in. So that's how it is. But I'm glad that you found it good, easy. Okay. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. हरिः ओम. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम.